Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from MailFuzz TV. I am Peter, and I am joined, as always, by Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And unfortunately,
Where's Connor?
For the second week in a row, Connor's not here. This one was not planned, however. He was called in to work on his day off because someone else who was new didn't show up. This was not scheduled. He read all his books, and we were, he had a Red Hood to read for this week. So now he's getting 2 Red Hoods next month because he has to make up for time lost.
This guy.
I know. It's so unfortunate. So unfortunately, it does mean that once again we are without Connor. It is a shame, but nothing we can really do about it. So he'll be back next week with all of his rambles, and we'll see how he felt about things. But what do we have this week? We do have some comics to talk about. This is what's coming up on this week's show. We have Batman the Murder Machine #1. We have Suicide Squad #26, which is obviously the next part of the Gotham Resistance crossover. We have Detective Comics 965, Action Comics 988. We have Wonder Woman #31, The Flash #31, Batgirl #15. We also have Nightwing, The New Order #2, and we have the final issue of Batman Shadow, which is #6, wrapping up that miniseries. So that is what's coming up on this week's show. So, you may be noticing that Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, is missing there. Matt didn't get a chance to read it, and since Connor's not here, that means no one's talking about it. But not to worry, I'm sure they'll catch up on it at some point later.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've been kind of out. And it dropped priorities. That's why.
Matt's drifting.
Yeah.
After getting all caught up as well, after Connor convinced you.
Yeah, but that's what happens when Venditti leaves you with New Gods and Hal Jordan focused.
That's fair. If you're not feeling it anymore, you're not feeling it. But
yeah.
So, in terms of, we don't have a lot of news this week. I just have one little nugget, and that's it. Dark Knight's Metal #4 has been delayed.
To win.
To the following week. It's been delayed by a week.
Okay.
It's not
Thank you.
It's not that bad.
Week 2s have been insane. So
that's a good point. It pushed it to week 3. That is a very good point. But so it's, instead of December 13th, it's now December 20th. It's not a big deal, but it's a thing. Oh. Although now that it's happened with one of them, I'm kind of expecting it to happen with 5 and 6 as well.
Yeah.
These things seem to have a knock-on effect, but we'll see. It is a little bit weird, though, that it's happening to the issue that's after the 1 month break. Because it's off for a month. There's no issue in November.
Really?
Yeah, so it's really weird that it's the one that's after the month break that's the first one that's getting pushed, but whatever, I won't...
Wasn't Final Crisis like that, where they built in a break in between some issues?
I think so. So. Can't remember, but I think so.
Weird.
Yeah. Oh well. So not a big deal, but worth mentioning all the same. So, I suppose, how was your week, Matt? We'll do a little bit of small talk.
Busy.
Busy week.
Very busy. Yeah. That's hence why I didn't get to Hal. So.
Yeah, priorities must be made. I had it was a pretty normal-ish busy-ish week for me until the last couple of days, when we seemingly have access to more audio feeds, and now I have had an extraordinary amount of work, and still have an extraordinary amount of work to do over the next couple of weeks for various other things that we do on the channel that are now getting audio
That's
feeds.
The real reason Connor's not here, because he pointed this out to you, and now you killed him.
Yeah, he's scared. He's just shaking in his boots because he gave me so much work. But that's what I've been doing the last day or so. But it's also, we're about to hit October, and October's a busy month for the horror movie show.
Yep.
Because we do a lot of extra stuff. So me and Tim are gearing up for that. And on top of that, on Thursday we recorded a super top secret bonus thing, or extra thing, that no one knows about yet. It's not announced. The reveal of that's coming soon. But you were involved in that, Matt.
Yeah, hence me also being busy.
Yeah.
Just a busy week.
Yeah, very busy week. But okay. Well, there you go. So I guess we'll get cracking into the books since we got some big stuff to talk about. We got our next metal one shot, which is Batman the Murder Machine #1, which is the cyborg evil Batman combination. This is written by Frank Tieri. There you go. And James Tynion the fourth, who snuck in there. He was not listed in the titles until I read the book, and I was like, oh, he's also involved. Also, Ricardo Federici did the art. So this was interesting. This was a very different take from the last one shot. Which actually we should mention before we go into this. Actually, just we got the corrections, right? We got the corrections. Yep. There was no Earth 52 on Morrison's Multiversity. There was 52 Earths, but it was 0 through 51.
0 through 51. That's why I couldn't find it.
We heard everyone. It's okay. We got it.
Well, that's what happens when you make New Earth Earth 0 instead of Earth 1, as it's traditionally been known. You know, from the Silver Age onward. You got Morrison, you got Scotsman just mucking all that up.
Accept the mistake, Matt. Just accept it.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying.
Made a flop.
When you have this much continuity in your brain, you know, wires get crossed.
I'm worried that you're going to try and justify this with older knowledge, and it's just going to lead to more corrections. So I just want to nip it in the bud right now. Say it's okay.
But
Mistakes
it's also that the dark multiverses are denoted with a negative.
They are.
Because as we found out in Murder Machine, it was Earth, negative 44?
Negative 44 was the Earth in this one, that's correct.
Which I like that that's what they're doing now, because now it differentiates, and it changed the way I read Red Death. I still didn't enjoy it
I do want to point out
much.
I do want to point out a couple of things, just one thing though. Last week, there was a few extra corrections that people actually deleted. Because obviously at the end of the show we actually went back and talked about it being Earth negative 52. But some people made comments before they got to that part on YouTube. But I can still see them after they've been deleted. So I just want to point it out. I saw them. I saw that you did those. And I don't know if I'm actually because some people will make the correction, then we'll actually get to it in the episode, and then they'll never go back and do anything to them. So I don't know if I like this more that they went back and deleted them, or if I'd prefer them to actually just comment on it and say, oh, okay, right, you brought it up, my bad.
Yeah.
Leave it there, be shamed.
That means they're reacting in real time, so I guess that's good. You know?
Yeah, that's just funny, though. It's just funny they try to hide it, try to cover their tracks. But I can see it. My evil Alfred AI is watching you.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
You are an evil Alfred AI.
So what was the murder machine? Earth 44, or negative 44, to be accurate. And this is a world where we actually don't start this in Earth negative 44. We start it in sort of present day. What's going on? Cyborg's talking to his dad. He's trying to figure things out. Why are all these cities starting to act weird? First Gotham and now Central City, and we know why Central City's acting weird because Red Death Batman just showed up. But so Earth negative 44 is an Earth where Alfred is attacked by a series of Batman villains and is brutally beaten to death, ending with Bane breaking his back, Nightfall style. It is pretty dark. It is pretty grim.
And despite being an old man, he really sticks it to him as his final. You know, he won't crack.
Oh, he's a stubborn old git. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he is Alfred to the final.
And it's that loyalty that's not indicative, but the driving force for the rest of the story.
But of course, this breaks Batman. This just breaks him, and it turns out because of course Batman has been working on an Alfred AI for when after he's gone, and he sets this loose in the world. But it basically becomes Skynet and starts killing people, and Batman kind of goes dark and is okay with this and lets him into himself, and he becomes a cyborg version of Batman that is assisted with his Alfred AI.
So this is 2 in a row now that we've had that when Batman gets corrupted, he takes out the rogues. Not the rogues, but his rogues gallery. And here it's more the Alfred AI that goes and takes him out because its main programming is to keep Bruce safe.
I think it's interesting, though, that all these dark versions of Batman all kind of revolve around the idea of just giving in and killing them. Yeah. That's kind of a running theme here.
Yeah, it's what you mentioned last week, that it's just one bad day and what that can do. And I definitely, after reading this one, feel that is what Snyder's building to. Is, it's the fact that Bruce has never given into that one bad day. He just, soldiers on. That's what makes him, the Batman instead of one of these dark versions that gets erased because it can't exist.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because the whole this world dying isn't really a factor in like why this Dark Batman becomes Dark Batman itself. It comes up after.
It's because of Alfred.
Yeah, it comes up after when Batman Who Laughs shows up at the end of his story and like says, "Oh, by the way, this world's dying. I'm recruiting you for yada yada yada." But he shows up in present continuity on our main Earth and attacks Cyborg, and a lot of the issues Cyborg try to fight him off. I will say I really liked the art in this issue. It had a lot of mood to it. A lot of it really had this sort of melancholy sadness to it.
It was gritty in that way that it's like really brutal, but it's beautiful in that. So like, really clean art, like you said, it's moody. But yeah, it's there's a scene where the murder machine Batman kills Cyborg on his Earth and just like rips his head and spine out.
Yeah, I was like, in present day Earth Zero. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait.
Yes.
No. That was he didn't do that to our Cyborg.
At the end, he rips his. Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah, as on his Earth. You're right. Okay, now
because
I know what you're talking about. Though he rips his head out and he's met his robotic spine is just dangling.
Yeah,
I got confused for a second. But yeah.
Gotcha. Well, no, because when they get to the Justice League satellite where Cyborg is, that they basically use his dad, Cyborg's dad, Silas, to his computing and whatnot through Star Labs is what gives them access to the Justice League satellite. And through that, then they take out Cyborg, and it's all the Dark Knights, if you will, that take out Cyborg in another super brutal fashion. Like they remove his limbs, and he's still around and kicking, but he's not a threat.
Yeah, because they all show up at the end, and the satellite gets transformed into this evil version of the Watchtower. And because I do like the whole when you see sort of glimpses of what the world became before the Batman Who Laughs like recruited them, you see what was on the cover. You see these big kind of very Terminator-esque. Like I compared it to Skynet earlier, but it is very Terminator-esque. The big sort of rolling machines that are sort of taking over the cities and stuff.
Yep.
And we see that's what's happening in Detroit. That's what's actually happening now on Earth Zero. Is Detroit's been taken over by the Murder Machine Batman.
Yeah. Because as Cyborg in the beginning, he starts looking if Central City's fallen and now Gotham, then he needs to check the rest of the cities of the Justice League's homes. So he checks Amnesty Bay and DC for Wonder Woman and Metropolis. So yeah, and then he sees Detroit fall because of the Murder Machine. And I gotta say, probably the coolest name. Like, it's just fun to say, the Murder Machine.
That's all right. I don't know if it's as good as something to say, I don't know, the Dawnbreaker. That's a good name.
I don't know about that. We'll see after next week. Because this is what Batman...
I'm not talking about... I mean, I don't know what the backstory is.
No, I'm just saying, in context of what happens in the issue, like, he is a straight-up... Like, the Alfred AI is the murder machine. Like, that's what it does to protect Bruce. So, there's a nice little bit of context there. But, yeah, super dark. Definitely an uptick. So I feel like if each of these is going to ramp up, I don't kind of want to know what's going to happen in The Man Who Laughs. Because, oh man.
It's funny because, I mean, I liked the last issue more than you did. I liked Red Death quite a bit. I do think they both offer something completely different. No, Red Death was very much, here's some teases of what's actually going on in a cosmic sense and, what these negative worlds are, and it really piqued my interest in that way. This one was more of an emotional gut punch. This was here's what happens when Alfred gets killed brutally, and here's Cyborg getting his head ripped out, and here's all the Dark Batman taking over at the end, and obviously I'm sure we'll see in the other one-shots the other Batman taking over their respective cities for that corresponds to them, but... So,
and now we're 2 for 2 of them being Bruce Wayne. So I'm wondering if that's going to start to change coming up. Like if the Dawnbreaker next week is, Bruce Wayne with a lantern ring, or if it's going to be something different. Because we know the Drowned really can't be Bruce Wayne because it's a woman.
So unless that Earth just has a lady. I mean, maybe it's not Bruce. Maybe it'll be Brenda Wayne or something. But
but these almost could be like dark reflections of Earth Zero, right? Whereas that one really can't be.
Well, I wonder.
So
I wonder if it's not Bruce, but like Bruce is kind of the reason she becomes what she becomes, and
yeah,
she takes on that mantle.
cool.
But I don't know.
Same with like the Devastator, because that seems simple enough. Like something happens to Superman that Batman allows himself to become Doomsday. But maybe it's something completely different. That would be cool.
What I do like is, as much as it still keeps the idea that there's two people inside there, it's not like, because I think after Red Death it was like, oh, is it going to be like Cyborg and Batman merging to become Murder Man? And it wasn't at all.
Yeah.
Cyborg is just not. I mean, he's got in the plot, but he's not actually part of the character.
Right.
So I'm now curious to see what the rest of them end up being. It seems like they're all going to be different, which is cool.
Which I like. Yeah.
But I will say, after two of these one-shots, they've been very successful in being good reads on their own, but adding a lot to the new characters that have appeared in this event. So and they both appear to be selling very well. I think they've both sold out, and they're getting printings and second printings and whatnot.
See, to me, this is how you do tie-ins. You make them kind of stand alone. So I know some people that aren't gonna pick up. Like I have a friend that was like, "Nah, I'm not big into Cyborg, so unless I hear good things about the Murder Machine, I'm gonna skip it." And I feel like you could skip it and you're going to be fine reading Metal.
Yeah.
So,
but it adds a lot of context to it and a lot of layers to. So I think it's worth it.
So people like us, we're going to get the bigger, fuller story, and it's better off for it. But if that other company, who I won't name, it feels like when you get tie-ins, you need them for the full story. The way that the crossover works. And here I'm enjoying that. You really don't, because even Gotham Resistance, like these, it adds to the overall Metal story, but you don't have to read it.
Yeah.
So which is good. It almost makes the reader feel like they're in control of the story, which you don't usually get in comics.
Yeah. So no, Murder Machine actually ended up being very good. I think I went in with low expectations because it's a Cyborg one, like.
See.
But sure enough, it ended up being really, really strong. So I can't fault it. And like I said, the art was probably the highlight actually for me.
Yes, definitely.
If nothing else, it had such a consistent mood to it, and it really felt like we're in a nightmare world as we see Alfred being broken in half by Bane.
Yeah.
So. No, so that is the Murder Machine, and obviously, like, it ends with the Batman Who Laughs just promising that they're here to, do nasty things and take over and whatnot. So interestingly, it does say to be continued in Dawnbreaker next week. It's interesting to me that they kind of are in a weird way having like a through line where it does kind of feel like, because we had Central City first and that was referenced in this. And then the rest of them were all hearing this, so I'm curious as to how we'll feel at the end of all these one shots. Like, what's the story they've told as a whole, at least in part?
Well, because the Murder Machine transforms the Justice League satellite, into it's this big evil looking thing, and you kind of see the logo of the Murder Machine burned into Detroit from the sky, so that was kind of cool, But yeah, I'm sure we'll deal with Coast City in the next one, and what that means for Hal Jordan, because that is the city without fear, and we'll see how the Dawnbreaker tries to change that, I guess.
Yeah. That's Batman the Murder Machine. That'll take us on to Suicide Squad number 26. This is part 3 of Gotham Resistance. Rob Williams writing and Sejic on art. So this was a treat. I didn't think he'd have time for another book, given that he's been doing Aquaman monthly. But lo and behold, I open the book and I'm greeted with this beautiful art.
I'm just gonna say, I usually don't pick up books for artists, right? I'm a writer, kind of. That's who drives my buying. But I think I'm gonna start just picking up books because Sejic's drawing them. Because I don't care about Suicide Squad. Like, this one in particular, I cared about because we all know how I feel about Poison Ivy. And
even if it wasn't Poison Ivy, it's still part of the crossover. And to be fair, it doesn't feel like it's a step down because it's Suicide Squad issue. It feels consistent with the last two.
That's where I was building to. Was, even if this wasn't a tie-in, I probably would have picked it up because of Sejic's art. But I picked it up because it's the tie-in. And the art does not disappoint. Because everything in here looks great. I haven't been a fan of this look for Harley Quinn because it feels too much like the Suicide Squad movie, but Sejic pulls it off. Like, she looks pretty cool here.
Very expressive. Like, she's constantly
Yes.
pulling faces, and it really
Yep.
adds up. And obviously, Harley's kind of the central figure. It's still very much the ensemble of all the characters that have
Yeah.
assembled here.
But in which, Damian and the Titans were kind of the primary focus of the Teen Titans issue, and Nightwing and his. It makes sense that Harley and Croc take the spotlight here.
Yeah, and we start off. They're in a new area. They're on a school bus. There's a lot of banter between them again. Damien telling Harley to shut up and vice versa.
A lot of Mad Max again, like you brought up.
Yeah, there's a lot of Mad Max actually.
Yeah.
Obviously they stumble into Ivy's domain. So you didn't even catch the mistake there. You just went along with it. But she's like, oh, I know who this is. We're fine, guys. It's just Ivy. It's my bestie.
She's my best friend.
Yeah. So she's got like two big man-sized killing plants with her. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, and of course, it's not fine at all. Ivy's gone full psycho. Batman.
So I'm wondering, do you think the cards affect them? I think they do. I think there's something in the metal.
Probably. They're probably a bit more psychotic than they usually are.
Yeah, because this Ivy doesn't gel with the ones that I've read in where she showed up in Batgirl or Birds of Prey. So and same with Riddler. Riddler seemed a lot more manic in the Teen Titans one. So yeah, I felt
even Mr. Freeze as well, building giant ice monsters and like fighting. Yeah. I didn't feel like Mr. Freeze in a traditional way.
No, not at all. Despite the cover and despite it being Ivy's domain, she doesn't have much to do. Which, from my point of view, is kind of disappointing.
I don't really give a shit. It's fine.
Yeah, of course. I just want to see a lot of Sejic, Poison Ivy.
To be fair though, like her chunk of the book, which is the first sort of half, I actually really like. A lot of it is focused on like Harley trying to get through to her and then failing miserably.
Yeah,
and then
it also made me like Harley a little bit more. Just the way that his art brought up the expressions and some of the stuff she was saying. It just didn't seem like, oh, they're trying to make her Deadpool. Like, this was, like, her on an emotional level, and this is just who she is.
Well,
like, her
I'll tell you what I liked.
with Robin.
I'll tell you what I really liked about Harley in this issue, is that she recognised this is the sort of chaos that Joker would like. Like, she noticed that. And I think that's... I mean, you could argue... Because I think at first I was like, oh, that's a cool thing that she recognises that. And then I'm like, no, wait, that's actually really good, because... The whole idea is that the person who's driving all this is the Batman who laughs. It's it's the Batman Joker combo. It's that she's recognizing that this is part Joker. Whatever's going on here, this is partly him. And I like that.
That was good. That's astute.
It's good stuff. Of course, and they sort of like bypass Mad Hatter's world a little bit. You see they're in there. You see the big cat and whatnot, and. Harley's like, oh, Mad Hatter, this is my kind of part, eh? And she's like, it's fun stuff. It's funny, actually. So the metal ball was flying around, right? And I was like, it was making me think of Phantasm. Now, for non-horror fans, you might not get why but I was just thinking of Phantasm the entire time. And for some reason, I never just stopped to think, oh, it's a Mr. Terrific.
It's a T-Sphere.
It's a T-Sphere,
I never did either. So when he pops in at the end to save them from Tweedledee and Tweedledum, he didn't really save them, but they were attacking. He, popped out. But
it was a giant, of course, moment.
Yeah, I felt so dumb. But outside of the prelude issues, we kind of have not that we've forgotten about Mr. Terrific, but he hasn't been a central focus.
Oh.
So
we kind of have forgotten. I mean, not forgotten, but like because he hasn't been brought up, it's just kind of like, he's not in my head, and it's like, but now he's here to help for this final part of this crossover.
Yeah.
That should
be
fun.
I like because it looks like in the next one we're getting the Batman Who Laughs. We're skipping right over Bane, and
I feel like Bane might be like, the way we sort of went through two villains this issue, we might get a bit of Bane at the start or something. Of course, the other big thing is that Robin's cut, and Robin fighting the evil Damian, like was bringing in visions, and he was seeing Batman like in drowning in metal, Terminator 2 style. You can almost see Batman's thumb going up as he's going to hit the molten metal. But he's like concerned that Batman's dead. He thinks like whatever's happened here, he's getting a sense that he's gone. And we see him and Damian Bond, and Dick also being kind of pissed that this monster's wearing a Robin outfit, and he's not happy about it. It's kind of cool.
He's not fit to wear that, and we have the Teen Titans attacking, and that's what takes the focus away from Ivy. But we also get Sejic Starfire.
We do,
even though she's all Joker-ized, kind of.
Yeah, it's all the evilized versions of the Titans and the Suicide Squad. So we see, we get to see Sejic of all of them. Dick's worried about Corey. Why is she acting weird?
Yep.
But no.
But I love that Nightwing's head wound is still prevalent in this. Like, there was a whole reason that Seeley told that story, and it's becoming more apparent here. Like, him getting the visions of Batman, and
do you know what I'm really beginning to realize? Beginning to realize that Damian is gold with almost any character.
Yeah.
You pair him up with Harley, and they're gold together. You pair him with Dick, they're gold together. You pair him with Batgirl, or even Supergirl, which has happened in the past. They're gold together. Green Arrow, they're gold together. Damian goes with everyone, and I don't know why, but it works tremendously.
Because he's very proactive, so he forces people to be reactive. So we all get their reactions to him, and how they deal with him is indicative of their character. So I like that Harley they're kind of at the same level when she doesn't talk down to him. She's like, all right, kid, whatever. Like, I got this. And when she drives the bus over the cliff into the vines, and they're like, oh, so that was your plan? She's like, yeah, totally.
And even at the later on, it almost has like a little mini arc, because later on he says she's right.
Yeah.
He says Harley's right, and she's like, I am? She almost wasn't expecting that. Obviously the book's gorgeous from start to finish. It's
easy.
Nary I think what I like, Croc has like a heroic moment where he's going to hold back and fight off the demonic Robin so they can keep going and find Batman or get to the mountain or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's this heroic moment, but there's this silhouette shot of just like the monstrous Croc with armor on and the evil Robin and silhouette like going to attack each other. It's gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, because Croc's like, not my town, and I like that. I like that even though he's this big beast of a man and a monster mix, he still loves his hometown, and he's going to fight for it. And he's, Joker can bring chaos, but nobody else. Like this big old mountain that appeared, not on his watch.
I think the exact line he used is "No one eats Gotham."
Yeah. And I think it's Green Arrow's like, he kind of needs a more heroic catchphrase or battle cry.
Oh, that reminds me actually, when Ivy showed up, she's like, I will protect the green. And Croc's like, I'm green. And then Ollie's like, I'm green too. Nightwing's like, that doesn't count, Ollie.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
No, it's good. It's good. So, it's been a fun crossover. My only concern at this point, actually, is that I feel like I don't know if one issue is enough to wrap it up.
No,
that's my concern at this point. But Matt, do you have to do the ice right next to the mic?
Sorry, I was trying to be quiet.
Oh God, you're like a T-Rex going through a car wash at times. You really are.
T-Rex. That is the oddest metaphor or simile I've ever heard, and I love it. That's one of my Facebook bio now. I don't have one. Like a T-Rex going through a car wash.
Oh dear. So that's Suicide Squad. I've been digging Gotham Resistance. It's not. It's not like I feel like the one shots with the Dark Batman are a lot more poignant, whereas this is the I think I said this last week. This is the fun part of the crossover, the event. It's all these characters smashing together and going through these hurdles. It could wrap up a bit too quickly, given we've only got one issue of it left. But that is coming next week, of course. So we're looking.
But I like that it's kind of contained that way, with Titans, Nightwing, Suicide Squad, Green Arrow.
Oh sure, I'm just.
We're done.
If it's a little bit, if the ending feels rushed, then maybe we'll have said it should have used another issue. But otherwise, I'm cool with it being tight, obviously. But anyway, so there you go. That's Suicide Squad. That'll take us on to Detective Comics 965. Oof. James Tynion IV, writing, Eddy Barrows on art. This is the first part of The Lonely Place of Living, which is Tim Drake's triumphant return to the main stage. Yep. And Let me guess. It was making you giddy that throughout the first half of this, when he was in the sort of the Kryptonian prison, it was the same, the rings from the Superman movie. That was working for you, wasn't it, Matt?
Yes, there's a whole lot. So, I found a theory about Jor-El, which we'll probably talk more about in action.
Mm-hmm.
This issue, because this is my first read this week, like I couldn't wait to get to this. Kind of put holes in that just for it, the way that it treats Jor-El as the character, and the Kryptonian rings that we saw. But yeah, this issue just on its own, seeing Tim react to these things and them fixing his origin, that he has the actual Tim Drake origin. Is quite nice.
I was actually going to try and squeeze in The Only Place of Dying this week for comparison's sake to see like how much it matched and stuff and all the rest of it, but I never had time, unfortunately.
So what do you mean? What's The Lonely Place of Dying? Am I missing something?
A Lonely Place of Dying. That was his introduction. That was his first arc.
Oh snap! I didn't even realize that. So this is a title.
Wait, you didn't even realize the name was calling back to his opening story?
No.
Oh Matt, Jesus.
That's fantastic. That makes me like that even more.
I
already really dug this issue, but damn, Tynion, you're killing me, man.
How did this not come up when they announced the title?
Maybe I wasn't there. Maybe that was an issue I missed.
Maybe we were missing that week.
An episode. Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, so for people that don't know, when New 52 happened, they gave Tim Drake's origin of him figuring out that Bruce Wayne is Batman just through, being like picking up the small details. They gave that weirdly to Dick Grayson, and it upset a lot of people, myself included. So to see here, it gives a little recap of his origin and him through Dick Grayson this time. Him figuring out who...
Which I liked. I liked the whole thing where he's like, Batman needs a Robin, and he tries to convince Dick to be Robin again, because he needs that. Yep. And Dick's like, no, I'm Nightwing now. And, it leads to Tim, picking up the mantle and not intending to stick around necessarily, but he kind of gets a taste for it. And obviously all this is relevant because it's going to lead to, okay, who is the character of Tim Drake, and what path could he go down, which we'll get to, at the end of the issue.
Right.
But so the first chunk of this, the first half, 2/3 of it, are kind of like Mr. Oz watching or asking Tim questions as we see the origin story of Tim Drake. That's kind of what the first chunk of the issue is, and all this very enjoyable, especially if you've forgotten the origin, you want it cleared up, continuity wise. Which is why I wanted to read the original story and sort of see how much, because I can't remember most of the original story. But
yeah, I need to read that now.
Yeah.
Shoot.
God damn it. So that's the first chunk. But Tim actually is smart enough to get out the trap. He's basically decoded, because he's worked with Kryptonian technology before via Superman, he's able to get his way out of it, and he does fight his way out. And that's when Oz reveals that he is Jor-El. As we know from action, although I'm still expecting a swerve. More on that later. Not that I have any guesses, admittedly, but I'm still expecting a swerve. So you get, and Oz basically leaves. He's like, you know what? You don't need to be imprisoned anymore. Like and he doesn't name drop, but he says, he took an interest in you. Because you strive to sort of unify everyone. So obviously we're thinking Manhattan from that. So. Even if this is Jor-El, or if it isn't Jor-El and he's pretending to be Jor-El, it is tying to Manhattan. The reason why he's here, more than that in action as well, but seems to be to do with because he says he was a prisoner here as well.
Yeah.
Until whatever point.
He kind of became like the warden almost, because we know we've seen him collecting other people that can affect the mission going forward.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that Jor-El was there first.
Yeah, and so we'll get to the end, because obviously I've got thoughts and theories. So he puts out a distress call. He tries to put out a call to Batman and whoever is listening. This is Tim, still alive. I've been held captive. Blah 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 blah. What you expect? But someone answers. Someone from within the prison says, "Oh, I'm Batman. I'm here. Come get me." And he's like, "Oh, that's the cell next to me." And so it's not exactly who Matt was hoping for in the cell next to Tim.
No, not at all. So at first I got really upset. And I might have throwing my iPad. Actually, I wasn't sure I didn't throw my iPad, in case my wife listens to this. But I get in trouble for throwing things a lot, all right? So sometimes I'm more animal than man. Anyways, that said, what it led to, I liked, well, I won't say as much, but I liked a whole lot because of what Tynion has set up.
And multiple books, might I add.
Yeah. And also, it goes hand in hand with my pet theory of who else might show up with the whole Titans of Tomorrow.
So,
you know?
Yes, so basically he goes to this cell that was next to his, and we see Batman in there, right, from behind.
Yep.
But then the next full page spread is Batman like pulling out a gun and shooting it. And it's like,
Yep.
That's not right. And of course Tim's immediately like, that's not right. Batman wouldn't use a gun. Why are you using
Batman
a gun?
doesn't use guns.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And he figures out who this is. This is Tim Drake. This is future Tim Drake. And, of course, if you've been reading Batwoman, issue 6 of Batwoman, we saw this future where Tim Drake becomes this militant Batman who takes control of Gotham and is kind of fascist. And it's like, oh man, this is all kind of tying together. And what's beautiful about this, because to tie this into Action Comics a little bit, it's kind of impossible not to kind of relate them now, because they're both dealing with Oz and Jor-El and what's going on.
They're pretty parallel.
But the big thing here is, in Action Comics, Jor-El, through presumably Manhattan, who's put him in places and saved him and shown him stuff, has seen that human beings aren't worth saving and that we can't do it this way. And Tim Drake seems to be this embodiment of, he becomes darker, he becomes this cynical version of himself, which is the whole thing that we've been talking about ever since Rebirth started with Manhattan, and he's cynicism coming to DCU, and the DC characters need to rise up and be heroes, and optimism, and so this is the evil Days of Future Past Tim Drake that we're seeing.
Yeah, and so I brought up Titans of Tomorrow, which was a Jeff Johns story arc that was pretty early on in his Teen Titans run. I'm trying to remember where exactly it showed up, but the Teen Titans come back. They try to get back to Earth from time traveling with the Legion of Superheroes, and they end up in the future where everything's gone dark, and the Teen Titans are the new Justice League, but like Tim Drake has taken full-on control, and he uses a gun, and that doesn't sit well with Tim, and he's using Connor Kent, Superboy, as the new Superman, as a puppet, and kind of to do his bidding, and Wonder Girl and Beast Boy, and who is more primal and savage, and it just, the fact that it's built on that and it's the same kind, I'm disappointed in myself for not piecing that together sooner.
It's harkening back to a lot of different stories from the previous continuity, while it's also fitting into the idea of what Manhattan's doing and what Rebirth kind of is at the core thematic level. And to realize that Johns is the architect of all this, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Because that's always that's been his, not his fallback to a story, but any of his major things is, this is what happens when heroes go corrupt. The universe is going to kind of rebel against it. Well, what if it's the opposite? What if someone else is trying to push it into that direction? Yeah. How do the heroes respond? And to look at it from a personal point of view, just for this arc for Tim, it's going to be him fighting against himself, becoming something he doesn't want to be. Which, given that he never even decided, he never even wanted to be Batman, he says that repeatedly in this issue. No, he was leaving. Yeah. Yeah, like, right before Batman thinks he dies, he was going off to college. But this is the thing. Like, hero game behind. Is this more of like a warning sign to him that he needs to leave? Yeah. Because if he stays and keeps the cape on, like, does he eventually become this because of that? Yeah. Because when he brings up that Batman doesn't use a gun, Tim Drake of Tomorrow is like, oh no, this is the gun that killed Martha and Thomas Wayne. I'm reusing it. I'm taking back its meaning. And that undercuts Batman's mission, who I always look at Tim Drake as the natural successor to Bruce Wayne, because Dick Grayson is his own man. Like, he's, that was always his thing, is he was meant to be the counterpoint to Batman's darkness. Whereas Tim was like basically Bruce Wayne 2.0. And, where was I going with that? I don't know. Well, I would say, I feel like it's funny now because Tim clearly here is a bit more reluctant to ever want that, and maybe that could be interesting that he's the reluctant Batman, but becomes it anyway. Yeah. But then you have Damian who wants to take that throne. He wants that mantle. Well, he's darkness going
towards the light, whereas it seems like Tim is light and is going towards the dark. Like they're counterpoint to each other, and that's what makes all these Robins great. Even throwing Jason Todd, like
the failure.
Has his own. He has his own arc. Like none of the Robins are carbon copies, and I've always liked that. Each of them have had a distinct personality. In fact, Jason's was so distinct that they voted to kill him. It won by ever so many votes, and that was it. And he was the failed Robin. So, because he wasn't Dick Grayson or close to it. And
but here's the thing, though. Like, I think that it's a good thing that vote won back in the day. For whatever reason it did, because I think the idea that we've had a Joker who's killed a Robin is just a good story point. Like, that's a great thing to have in history.
Part of me felt like he was going to die anyways, just because people weren't big on him, as it were. And he's gained a cult following since then. I don't know why. I mean, Connor loves him. I mean, look at that picture.
He's a big Red Hood fan.
Yeah, but it just, this is Tim Drake's story, and this issue was real good, because when we got to the Batman of Tomorrow and it wasn't Connor Kent, I went, damn it. Oh, but wait. What does this mean for the Batwoman story we just read? And is this a callback to that Titans of Tomorrow story, which I feel it has to be because they called him Tim Drake of Tomorrow or Batman of Tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it'll tie in any other way, but I think thematically it's definitely pointing back at it and saying, this is kind of like following that idea. So,
but yeah, very exciting stuff. So Tynion is like, he's near becoming my favorite Batman writer just because of all the stuff that he's doing. And then it's not with Batman. That's the irony of it, because he's made Clayface awesome, and he's made, we already thought Stephanie Brown was awesome, but but Cassandra Cain, great. So Luke Fox, all these side characters, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see where this actually goes now, because obviously the ending of the issue is that Doomsday, who we know is in there, breaks out.
Yeah.
So we've got two Tims to deal with Doomsday, but I'm curious as to by the end of this arc, is Tim back in the real world with the team?
Yeah.
Is that where we are by the end of this arc? I imagine probably, but we'll see.
Yeah, because Oz tells him that Bruce knows that he's alive.
Yeah.
So that's the driving force, and that's why he thinks this Batman is Bruce there to help him out, and it turns out to be himself. And which I guess that's the ever-telling thing is Batman's gonna save him, but it's not the one that he thought, and it's himself. He can only Tim can get Tim out of this. If that makes sense.
And of course, Oz pisses off because Oz has things to do with Superman around this same time. So that'll take us on to Action Comics 988, which is written by Dan Jurgens, art by Ryan Sook. And this is, of course, I love that this opens with a full-page spread of Superman saying, "You're lying."
Liar.
Yeah, or liar. Yeah, whatever the way he said it, but yeah.
Which so in my household, anytime I want to make a joke on something, I'll point and yell "mentiroso," which is liar in Spanish. So the fact that I read that as Superman saying it like that, I got a kick out of it. That's just me, though. Yeah.
But, I think it's funny how this action and detective have kind of similar structures in the sense that a lot of it is this sort of flashback, explaining the origin. In this case, it's the origin of how Jor-El didn't die. So obviously,
which I found that very underwhelming because it's kind of the least interesting of the possibilities. I hope there's more to it.
It is the least interesting, which I do think there might be a swerve. I feel like because I feel like there's a conscious choice, or I don't think Johns and co are oblivious to the idea that having Jor-El actually survive and go this evil will sour the history of Superman's origin a little bit. So I feel like by the end they might have more of a swerve to say that this isn't really Jor-El. That this is because the whole thing here is that Manhattan swooped in and took him away as Krypton exploded, and then put him on Earth in this third world country where this this warlord is stealing food from people, and this little kid turns him in, and then the kid's forced him.
Turns in his own family because Jor-El went and stole food from the warlord.
Well, it's more that he's turning in. He's not really turning in the family knowingly. It's after the fact that the warlord then says you have to punish everyone who was responsible for this. So he didn't. I don't think he turned them in knowing that he was going to have to punish them.
Yeah, I was just raising up the stakes there.
Yeah, yeah, but he forces him to shoot his own family, this kid, and Jor-El witnesses all this, and it's once he realizes this that Manhattan, presumably Manhattan, I can keep saying presumably because it's not quite out confirming it, but it looks a lot like
the blue energy is really kind of tipping the hand, but it could,
just in
it
case,
could be anything.
Just in case it's not, I just want to say presumably.
It's not Manhattan, it's Superman Blue. The
whole time. And presumably that's afterwards where he traps him in just the prison that Oz has been in the whole time. But the whole point, because you see him been watching Clockwork Orange style. He's watching World War II Nazis and every other horrible thing that's ever happened. And again, it's coming back to this key idea that Manhattan's bringing the cynicism. This is a dark world and everything's bad and there's no hope. And Superman, rightfully is arguing with him, no, just one incident doesn't show you the entirety of humanity. There's more to it than that. There are other things. There's hope and whatnot. So again, the core conflict of what Rebirth is and what it's building up to is there, which is great, which is why the issue mostly works for me. It's just some of the early stuff, like you say, the actual saving them from Krypton as it's exploring and the build up to it. It's just kind of like, okay, it's just kind of simple and I've been there.
I did like the peek into Krypton of seeing his father-in-law, to me that's a new character, and I'm pretty deep in Superman mythos.
Larvan, I think, was it?
Larvan. Because if Kara is Kara Zor-El, then the naming is she's Lara Larvan, which that's we've known that. But he was an astronaut, and so he kind of knew the galaxy outside of Krypton, whereas we've always been told Krypton was this insular society, and that's why they didn't listen to Jor-El. They were too proud. Lorvan was kind of in this midpoint where he's like, yeah, you might be right, but what's the point? And it's very cynical itself from Krypton. And because Jor-El wants to build these space arcs and save all of Krypton.
Yeah, well,
that's impossible.
Yeah, that's the thing. He just says, "Oh, that's illegal." Ever since I can't remember the name, but ever since the crimes of this previous astronaut, it's forbidden, and he just dismisses it outright, and he kind of dooms them because he erases all of his data. Because that's the thing. He doesn't just say no. He deletes everything that's leading up to maybe evacuating more of the planet, or at least a significant portion of it. And because he has to start from scratch, he only has time to build the one little ship for little Kal-El. So
little Kal and saves him, and read that famous image of the spaceship going around the exploding Krypton, which was very John Byrne, which I think that was on point. I feel they did that on purpose because they're it seems like they're returning it to that Krypton. So again, if a swerve's coming, maybe this isn't the Earth Zero Jor-El. This is another Earth.
Possibly. I feel like there's going to be a swerve just to sort of maintain, like, do we want to have the idea that Jor-El became this after the fact forever? I don't know if they want to do that, which is why I think there might be a swerve.
Yeah, as a fan of Superman and the Superman mythos, I don't like that. I mean, him being plucked out, they could always rewrite everything in Doomsday Clock. You know what I mean? But the fact that here, I like that there's a grander story going on, with Superman, Supergirl, and now Jor-El. That Superman was the immigrant that came here as a baby, right? He's basically a person of Earth. Where Kara came as a young person, she still has memories of her home, but it's not equal to her new memories.
Yeah, she's more. She's more of a child of two worlds, literally, because she's got a part of her childhood in both. Whereas Clark, he doesn't remember anything from Krypton.
No, he's from Kansas. He's green jeans, as Lois used to call him. But Jor-El now is that old guy that remembers the homeworld, or the homeworld, the old country. And even though he was chased away through atrocities, and that's why he came to this new place, he has these nostalgic, it was such a great place, and this place sucks because it's not the old place. So I like that, but again, him being plucked out as it's
although to be fair, he's quite critical of Krypton as well when he's talking to Clark about it. He's like, they doomed themselves, and this place is going to doom themselves as well. They didn't listen to me, they're never going to listen to you. So that's why the ending's him saying, I'm going to take you away forever. We're going to leave Earth, never come back. which obviously isn't going to happen. But we'll see how Superman deals with this next
Yeah,
issue.
and it was Jack Sore. He's like the big Kryptonian baddie. Anything that goes wrong, I feel they always blame Jack Sore just because it's a name that sticks out.
He's the reason why space
he's
flight
the reason
is forbidden. Yeah.
Yeah, but it seems like it's very much the John Byrne Man of Steel version of Krypton, and that really drives Jor-El's, I think, thought process because it's very cold and scientific. And
maybe the way this works is the idea that Jor-El or Manhattan stepped in and manipulated time, and this is part of what he manipulated. Is he took Jor-El away from Krypton. But does it so if we fix it in Doomsday Clock and we reset things back to how they should be, does he never get saved from Krypton and he just dies with it? Assuming this is just straight up Jor-El. Right. Because part of me thinks it's a trick from Manhattan. Like Manhattan's created this version and he just thinks he's Jor-El kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, it's also the kryptonite, how it doesn't seem to affect him, although you see it like when he lands and the family takes care of him, they see that pull out and it's glowing. Like, I've read some things that people say, oh, that's why it doesn't affect him because it's in his system. Like, whatever Manhattan did, he's like one with kryptonite, and that's why. But I don't know. I feel there's something bigger going on there, and I feel like in a story of this magnitude, there's no accidents. Like, there's no accidents in storytelling. That they just left something out. So, I hope there's a swerve. This issue kind of ruined my Jor-El Prime theory, but it could still be there.
I think it's a swerve. Maybe we'll just find out he get taken from another universe, or he's just not really Jor-El. He just thinks he is. Like, he's just got fake memories because Manhattan's created him or done something to him. But I'm still kind of expecting a swerve. Probably, if this is 5 issues, I'm expecting at the end of the 4th issue, the swerve of who he really, really is.
Yeah, definitely. But Sook's art, I really enjoyed. It's very simple.
It's okay. I didn't love it. It wasn't like screaming like atmosphere at me like some of the previous books we've talked about. But it was fine. Yeah.
I felt the colorist though too could have jazzed things up in the present day when they're talking. I feel like the color seemed desaturated. And that's cool in the Jor-El's past that we're seeing, to denote
it's the flashback filter.
Time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, with Superman, I want it to be a little bit more bright and vibrant, and it kind of wasn't. But no, I enjoyed this issue fully. I mean, it's a little deflating. I didn't get Connor Kent nor, Jor-El Prime, but... what are you going to do? I'm still...
I do like how thematically the two stories that are going together actually do kind of work well. They're both about cynicism versus hope and what you could become if you do become cynical and if you don't, hold on to your ideals. So so Superman's like going to have to face this ideological sort of question. Tim's facing that question. So it's nice how they complement each other that way. But... Alright, so I guess that'll take us on to Wonder Woman number 31. James Robinson writing this is his first issue. Carlo Pagulayan on art. And this is kicking off his story. Although, to be fair, obviously this has been billed as that, we're dealing with Wonder Woman's brother. And while there's a hint of that in the first page, this issue doesn't actually do anything with Wonder Woman's brother. He's not in it at all.
I got so excited when we saw the Paul Bunyan character that looked like... essentially a male version of Wonder Woman, and it's all a swerve. Like, he's living in this little mountain town, and we know he's kind of a lumberjack because how the people are talking to him.
Because we go to this guy's story, this Jackson or whatever his name is, that he's going by, and he's just he lives up in the mountain, and he comes down for supplies, and everyone comments, "Oh, you're really nice, but we never see you. You keep to yourself," and he does. And then he goes back up to his tranquil little existence, and Grail shows up to attack him. And she's like, "I know who you are. You're one of the old gods." And you can tell it takes a hit, and he's like chopping down trees and stuff. And he's like, "All right, fine. If I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight properly. I shall be Hercules unbound." And then he
I was like, yeah, that was cool. I mean, technically that's her brother because Zeus is his father, and that's her father. But this is not the brother we're looking for, I'm sorry, your brother's in another castle.
Oh, okay, sure, technically, yeah, but we're talking about the brother from Darkseid War.
Yeah, we're talking about Jason. So I kind of once he, I almost as I was reading this, I almost went to our thread and was like, guys, what the heck's going on with Wonder Woman? And I was like, no, wait, I'm going to read it all before I comment. And I'm glad I did, because we get to that Hercules.
Wait, were you just throwing it shade at people who corrected us last week in the video and didn't listen to the end?
No. I was throwing shade at myself for being a pussy.
Okay, I'm just checking. I'm sticking up for the people. Wait. I'm sticking up for the people. That's all.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
So he fights Grail. Grail wins, kills Hercules. And we then
takes his life force.
Yeah, takes his life force. It's really well drawn fight, actually. I enjoyed the art here, actually. I enjoyed the art in the book in general.
Yeah, Pagulayan. We've seen him draw Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Early on.
And then it goes to Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman's fighting Giganta, which was a nice little kind of like. And I love that Wonder Woman herself actually brings up why this is a fun little fight. It's because everything I've been dealing with recently, it's actually just kind of nice to have a straight up fight a supervillain battle.
Yeah,
it's some fun stuff. She goes to catch Giganta so she doesn't land on anyone like an innocent.
That's what I was gonna say. That's such a great moment in the art that you see her in the background. Steve's watching it, and Giganta's been KO'd by Wonder Woman, but you see her easing her down. And I was like, man, now this is Wonder Woman that's more my speed.
What I like about it is she even says, oh yeah, I've fought her enough to know how to do this, because I like the idea that the first time she fought her, she ended up crushing like half a street because she didn't know how to catch her before she went down.
Exactly.
It's
learning curve.
It's good stuff. But yeah, so basically this lawyer shows up. Apparently Hercules has an attorney. As like, oh yeah, you've inherited all of Hercules' treasure and goods because he's dead. Fortunately to tell you, and then that's basically the issue. There's obviously the final scene is Grail comes back with the life force in a mother box and gives it to someone, and we find out she's given it to Darkseid, child
Darkseid,
who is growing with the life force of all of Zeus's children being murdered. Yeah. So that's where we're starting off plot wise for this. I'm digging it because I'm not sold on the brother plot. I'm not looking forward to Jason all that much. But I did like this issue. I like what's happening. My only question, though, is I'm guessing this is set after Metal because Baby Darkseid's back with Grail and he's growing up. So But other than that, making me sort of be like, what? But we just saw Baby Darkseid in Metal. Other than that moment, I dug this quite a bit. I liked how it built up the reveal of who this guy was at the start. Like, 'cause we're like, okay, who's this randomer? He's kind of got the beard. He's just up in the mountains. Like it built like it was a lot of quiet stuff building to that until Grail showed up, and I enjoyed the fight. And
even when she shows up, it's such a cool moment because she's like leaning up against a tree, just exuding confidence, and the fact that she mentions that she needs the old gods, so the new gods, or your father was an old god, my father's a new god, and that thing. But I loved Kid Darkseid. It's such an insane premise, and it reminds me of Remender doing the Kid Apocalypse stuff in what was that, in Candy X-Force, where the new Apocalypse was born, and they had to deal with all that. I mean, here it's much different because it's the same old Darkseid just in a pre-teen's body.
So far I'm on board with this after one issue. I like this quite a bit. So I can't complain. I'm a little bit worried that when the actual Jason stuff comes into it, I'm not going to be as into it. But we'll see how it goes. But at least so far, I like the action. I like the art, and I'm liking the plot of like we're building up Darkseid with killing all these gods. So that potential to be
super
fun.
Cool.
And I like the Giganta fight. That was a fun little.
It's and I like too the whole Steve Trevor. God, I feel like his days are numbered here. Like,
oh dear.
Yeah, just the way that in the last couple arcs, they've been talking about him. And he's like, oh yeah, he's a knight. Like, he represents the knight to Wonder Woman's princess. And, I never thought of that dynamic before. And they pointed out here when she's fighting Giganta. So, he's kind of there to honor her and to guard her, but not in that traditional way, because she can take care of herself. But that's like an emotional thing. But and I hope not, because he was the conduit in the Darkseid War. Like that Grail had used, I think, to summon Baby Darkseid. I can't even remember. It was that long ago, but they had done something with Steve that had perverted him. So
Yeah, I want to compliment the colours as well, because I mean, that sounds really simple, but just the idea that when the fight in the woods is happening at night time, it's nice blue, sort of darker colours, and when Hercules like suits up, it's like the gold really sticks out, and then when it cuts to Wonder Woman in broad daylight, again, it feels more hopeful. It really contrasts with what the previous scene was. Like it feels like you're in a different place already. So I salute that. And we should mention that first page. It's just Wonder Woman saying, "Brother, please don't do this," and that's your tease. So we'll get there eventually. But
also, I like too that they said that Hades built her that axe for Grail, and Hercules corrects her. He's like, "No, you mean Hephaestus. Like, you don't even know the gods." So I kind of like that Grail's kind of the middle finger to the old gods. She can't even get them right.
But no, so far I like this issue. So we'll see where Wonder Woman goes from here. That'll take us on to The Flash number 31. Joshua Williamson writing with Neil Googe and Gus Vasquez on art. This is the final issue in the Bloodwork story, which oddly. Remember how we had like 2 issues of this, and then they called the next part 1 of Bloodwork, and it just felt like it was the same story. And then Bloodwork only lasted like 2 issues, and it's like, well, why wasn't this just not called like the same thing for like 4 or 5 issues? Why was there 2 titles? But whatever. So yeah, big fight with Bloodwork in the city. Barry, run around. Bloodwork's going nuts. He's got giant blood veins and stuff like going through the city.
So like, look, I know it's comics, and I know the whole. It's the Speed Force, I don't have to explain. How does experimenting with blood from crime scenes turn him into Bloodwork?
Meta-human blood.
I know, but still, it was a long bridge across. I loved his origin. I loved him being a hemophiliac.
Oh, I get your complaint, but to be fair, he was experimenting with metahuman blood, which is how he ended up the way he is.
Yeah, I guess, but I wasn't feeling Bloodwork in this issue. I liked him in the last issue, but here turning him to this big monster, I was kind of like, man, okay, that was rough. I did, however, love the Barry stuff, so we can talk about that because Bloodwork's kind of minimal, despite the arc being the.
I mean, he's there. I mean, I kind of agree. I'm not really a big fan of him when he turns into like this sort of like tumor-looking monster kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was whatever, but I like that Barry talks him down. Like he doesn't actually. Yeah. I mean, he does go in eventually with the lightning, and I like that big full-page spread. But...
I like that he's like, I'm doing the Barry Allen thing. I'm gonna talk you down and hear you out. Psych, and then he's just gonna strike him with negative Speed Force lightning.
Well,
but.
I wouldn't say psych, because he does say after that he meant every word of helping him. It's just that he had to contain the situation first.
Yeah,
it's the main thing. But
it also adds to that negative vibe that he's been having because of all this. Like, and it strikes Bloodwork back into his normal looking self, which I kind of like the fact that if this dude bleeds now, he can turn back into Bloodwork and be super dangerous. So that's kind of cool.
Does that mean keep him in a straitjacket and stuff so he can't cut himself? Like, do they have to?
Yeah, like you keep him from all that. Like, and how does internal bleeding work with this dude? Like
I don't know. I like that he's around though, because I like him enough that I'm glad that they can come back to him. When next time the rogues all escape from Iron Heights or whatever. But I think the bigger things to talk about this issue are the sort of the epilogue stuff that sets up where we're going next with a couple of different things. First of all, Barry and Kristen are being transferred to Iron Heights' crime. I don't know why a prison has a crime lab, admittedly, but they're going there. Whatever, I'll accept it, it's fine. So it means we're going to be in Iron Heights for the next arc, though, so that's cool. I like that. And then the other...
Yeah, I like that they're shifting it, and I like what Sing's like, man, I've put up with you for way too long, and you're very good at what you do. So I can't actually fire you for your bad attitude, but I can transfer you. So, and that new girl, what's her name? The red-haired...
Hey, Kristen.
Oh, man. Kristen. Kristen's going with you, and then she gets all upset. And so now it's like everybody hates Barry still. Mm-hmm. So, which I'm kind of getting over. Like, I get that Williamson wants to tell a different kind of Flash story.
Well, to be fair,
But
you're saying you're kind of getting over it, but the very next scene is when one of them actually turns around and, extends a hand again. The very next scene, New Wally turns around and says, "Okay, I'm going to help you. You need help, right? I'm over being angry at you."
yeah, I like that. But just the whole emo Barry, and it's pushing his character forward. But I just kind of, I feel like it's run its course. I want happy-go-lucky Barry. I don't know. I never pictured Barry Allen as a Spider-Man type that's dealing with all these issues.
We're getting to that. I think the whole point of this next arc is that Wally's going to help him train and deal with these new powers, and that'll get us to where we're going. I do like that this whole negative Flash thing isn't just a one and done arc, though. I like that it's playing out over maybe 2 or 3 arcs as other things are going on. It'll make the victory sweet when he finally gets back to having his old suit and he gets rid of the negative Speed Force. I think that'll be a really big moment because it plays out through a few different stories. So I actually kind of like everything it's doing here. Bloodwork actually being this big monster wasn't super cool or anything.
Yeah.
But I do actually really like how it affected Barry and everything that's kind of like putting him through right now. Like, him going and watching Iris and then seeing, because he's given up the ring. He wants to give the ring to New Wally, and New Wally, because of his experience in Titans and Deathstroke, is like, nah, you know what? I'm going to help. Like, I've been going through stuff too. Let's get this done. So it has kind of a hopeful ending.
He even brings up other Wally. He's like, I don't know how your relationship was with other Wally, and we can talk about that later. But I'm going to help you. And I like that. I like that it's built on their relationship.
So no, I feel like Williamson's Flash occasionally stumbles in that I maybe don't love the incident, like the sort of villain we're dealing with right at that moment, or how we deal with the villain.
Yeah.
But I always like what he's doing with the long game.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
he's definitely from the Johns vibe that way, where he's writing not for the trade, but for the big, like you said, the bigger story. Like, this is going to change Barry Allen going forward.
I think Johns is better at it, and that he nails the all the shorter stories within it as well. Whereas Williamson sometimes remember that one earlier on where it was like he went to the Shades world or whatever it was, and that was kind of rough. And
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, so
it started off kind of cool because they're bringing back Shade, and then just like the Iris stuff was like cringeworthy. Same kind of here with some of the Bloodwork stuff, but as long as he rebounds and he gets right back to it, then and Iron Heights is like, that's awesome.
Well, that's the thing. I think he actually rebounds within the same issue. The second half of the issue and everything it sets up is great. True. So, but no. So that's the Flash 31. So that'll take us on to Batgirl number 15. Hope Larson writing, Chris Wildgoose on art. This is the second part of the Summer of Lies story, which obviously features Dick Grayson in a supporting role. And we're still wondering who the Red Queen is, although I'm still pretty convinced Ainsley's going to turn out to be the Red Queen. But Ainsley, of course, being the character that Barbara knows from her past, from this summer, who she was doing some work with, both at a restaurant where they were both working and as an intern for a sort of tech job with computers. But so I dug this issue quite a bit. I liked the first one as well. That this was a mix of present day stuff where they're trying to figure out what's going on. That this nurse in the hospital, when they're there to see Mad Hatter, goes nuts and she's being controlled by something. And she freaks out. The pair of them have to take her down. They decide to put her in an MRI machine to try and see if they can fry the nanobots in her. And oh dear, instead it completely vaporizes her.
And I like that what Nightwing's like, we vaporized her. Like,
yeah, I love
just nails the look on his face.
It's going to be obviously not completely his fault because they obviously the show that the other workers, your mate's starting to go. The other workers are starting to like the other person at the hospital is the one who turns the machine on, even though she's done it too early. And I feel there's going to be more to it. But I love that it nails his anger. In the very next scene, he's like punching the wall. He's like so angry that it went that way. Which obviously leads to a really sweet moment because Barbara tries to calm him down and they end up kissing. And obviously the Dick Babs feels are always going to be high.
They've turned him into the Matt Murdock of the DCU. Like, he's got so many different ex-girlfriends and girlfriends, and just in Rebirth alone now, like Sean and Babs, and there's hints that he was involved with Starfire early on. Like that dude's
Don't forget Huntress.
Huntress. Like how can I forget Huntress?
Yeah.
It's also, so. And I'm not trying to throw shade on to Dick for that. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I think obviously we never know exactly where stories take place in relation to each other from different books. So I'm just assuming that this is either before the Huntress stuff or a little bit after it. But either way,
and with them, it's such a tragic because deep down, I feel like they're meant to be. I have this romantic love inclination towards them, but I always feel like they can never be together.
Yeah, well, that's why Dick and Babs is the one that always gives me the most feels because, I don't mind them being with Huntress, but it doesn't give me the feels the same way. Whereas there's something so sweet and genuine about the way these two feel about each other, and it's kind of the thing where if they never will, but if they ever do like the ending and this is what happened, the epilogue scene, it would be no, Dick and Babs get married, they live a happily ever after the end. That's what you want to imagine happens in the future.
He runs a trapeze class. She's doing something with tech, and they live out in the suburbs. And every now and again, they dust off the costumes. I'll
criticise the art a little bit. I do think Wildgoose veers a little bit young with the faces at times.
Yeah, big time. Because I read this last night and I was super tired. I stayed up to watch a football game, and so I'm reading this kind of late, like later than normal. And I had to go back a couple times because it was jumping back and forth. And I was like, wait, man, they're drawing the adult ones to look a lot like the young ones, and then the young ones are looking really young because they're supposed to be like, what, 15, 16-ish?
Yeah, something in that range. And that would be my main complaint with the art is that sometimes the present-day faces are far too young looking. Otherwise, though, the expressions are really good because that page where they kiss, and it's like the kiss and like she says like, hey, Dick, it's not your fault, and they break apart and... The expressions and all the emotions in their faces through all of that stuff was gold. It was perfect. They just looked too young. So,
I agree.
But otherwise, it was really solid stuff. So that was the gist of the present day stuff. The flashback stuff, again, very sweet. They're staking out this party, and they decide to like infiltrate and like put on normal clothes, and so they'll blend in. And there's a little sweet moment where she's like, yeah, but we'll see each other's... And it's like, oh, don't worry, I'll be a gentleman. I won't look. It's like, no, not that. Our secret identities. And then, so he actually... We actually see the moment where he tells her who he is. He's like, oh, I'm Dick. I'm Dick Grayson. It's like, you thought my name was old-fashioned.
Yeah. So it's always got the good humor. Like, I love Batgirl
good humor. So good and sweet. The moment where he takes her downstairs and you just see the little thought bubble where she says, oh, he's holding my hand. It's that teen sweaty palms, like they're noticing they have feelings for each other stuff. It's just it can be too much, but here it's perfect for these characters.
Yep. And I also want to point out like so what they're investigating as teenagers is there's this like new drug going around. They can't exactly figure it out, and you come to find out that it's the kids are basically ingesting nanobots, and these nanobots have a side effect that it makes you hallucinate. So at this party, because Dick points out like, well, yo, what kind of party is this where there's no beer? There must be something else going on if you catch my drift. And Bal's kind of like, wait, what are you talking about? And then there's no other drugs there, but they're trying to trip on something. And so that ties it back to the nanobots.
The present day story.
Which I like because I feel like, we touched on the Mad Hatter, and I feel like this is going to be some kind of tech he had developed and then got rid of. And that's what ties it to the Red Queen.
And Ainsley or Red Queen or whoever got their hands on it, and that's where it's went down this path.
In the past, they find that group that was looking for Ainsley when she cuts out from the restaurant, and they look at that group where I think it's from Gotham Imperial Bank or Purotech, and they have a dartboard with Ainsley's face on it.
Yeah, that's the little cliffhanger at the end,
So I wonder how...
Because Ainsley goes to work, because she had Babs cover her shift, and Ainsley shows up, and she's looking from the back, and she sees these guys sitting at the table. It's like, oh, did they mention me? And she's clearly worried, and she runs out. So they really set up that these guys are after her, which is setting up what this past story is going to be. Yeah, another subtle thing I really like, again, just going back to the Babs and Dick kind of like sort of conversation and the way they talk to each other. is when they're leaving the party, and because they sort of break away until she calls them for help after the whole guys hunting Ainsley thing.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, make sure you call me." With the results, I mean, like, you know, it's just like, again, it's just that flirty, like, nervous. Oh, I almost said something that felt like it was flirting. I need to retcon it. I need to correct what I meant.
Yeah.
But the fact that she has to go out of her way to retcon it is what shows you she really kind of felt it.
Yep.
So it's good. It's good writing in that way. Larson's doing good stuff with that. And like I said, Wildgoose's art's pretty good. Outside of everyone looks really young, but the expressions are pretty spot
on point. Yeah, and I like that Larson. This is the second story we've gotten with her relationship with Dick, because the whole Penguin, like the Son of Penguin stuff.
Yeah,
it was there too. So I like that there's like a through line going on here, and it helps that I love both of the characters a whole lot. So
absolutely. But no, Batgirl's continuing to be a really good. Do you know what I think Larson's doing really well with Batgirl? She's done a really good job of making it feel like it is suitable for like teens and younger folk without it alienating anyone who's older.
Yeah, which I feel like the last reintroduction of Batgirl, where they try to skew it younger and like cool and hip, I feel like that missed its mark for people like us.
Yeah, whereas this, it feels like it just has the sense of innocence to it that Batgirl kind of has with it.
Yeah,
and I like that.
And that's been the through line since the first issue. I feel too like the whole travel around Asia had that vibe, because her whole friend from back in the day, Kai, and how he wanted to be more than friends beyond just needing her help. So yeah, I like Larson a lot. I think this is gonna end up being like where we talk about those runs, like the Brian Q. Miller Batgirl.
Yeah,
where it's like, yeah, you got to read that. I feel like here we're gonna be like when Larson's done, you got to read the Hope Larson Batgirl. It's really good.
No, that's cool. So no, still digging this arc. We'll see. I think I've said this about all of the arcs, but I think they keep improving themselves. Like, I feel like the one shots between the arcs have been really good, but I think the arcs themselves, each one's improved upon the last one, and I think Summer of Lies will end up being the best one so far. Once we're done.
I think you're a little biased.
How am I biased? This is nonsense.
You love Dick and you love Babs, So I just wanted to say you love Dick. That's all.
Of course you did. But I do love Dick. Let it be known.
You do.
So that will take us on. This is actually a really funny transition, because we're going into Nightwing: The New Order #2, written by Kyle Higgins and art by Trevor McCarthy. So this is, of course, a very different type of Dick.
Yeah.
This is Dick gone wrong.
This is an old, rugged, haggard Dick.
Oh, this is Dick who's mad at the world. So
it's an angry Dick.
So the veins are popping out of this Dick.
From his forehead, it's just throbbing.
Okay, right. Let's get away from these.
Let's get back on point.
Yeah. So we found out at the end of the last issue, the big reveal at the end was that Dick and Starfire's son, which they outright confirmed in this issue that Starfire's the mother. He's got powers, and kind of what we thought was going to go down is Dick's going to have trouble dealing with this, and what happens when he's the leader of the people who are meant to be like fighting against this and like containing these people, and he's told right away that this and it's Mr. Terrific as well, which I thought was a nice little touch. That was the doctor.
He was the doctor, yeah, because he's human. Like, he's the third smartest man, so of course he'd have been left alone.
But he's telling him right away, no, the meds to subdue the powers don't work. He's going to have to be contained and put into the stasis. And Dick's like, no, he needs to have a life. Damn it! Like, and it's this old school story mechanic where you have the person who's adamant of this, but once it happens to his son, his tune changes and he realises what he's been doing to other people. You feel like that's where this is going to go. This is a bad week for Alfred, though, in comics.
I was going to say, I had to restrain myself during the first one, because I knew we were talking about this towards the end.
Oh, of course, yeah. Obviously, we don't want to spoil different books in case people are skipping certain ones. And
I don't like that I had to watch Alfred die twice.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Alfred died twice this week. And this one's even harder because it's not. I mean, it's an Elseworld, but it's like this is like Alfred who's still trying. Like, he has that sweet moment with the kid where he's like, "Don't worry, me and your father like care about you a lot, even if we have our differences." Yep. It's this really sweet moment, and then all the evil Bat Army show up to like take in the kid, and Dick's trying to talk them down. Do this like calmly and properly. He's trying to be diplomatic about it, and Alfred's got a baseball bat, and he's like, "No, you stay away from the kid, you assholes."
Touching the kid, you got to go through me first.
And he gets shot, and Alfred dies.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, because the kid almost like starts like his powers, his Starfire powers start to flare up, and I was like, oh yeah, take them all out, kill every single last one of them, the bastards. But of course, one of them, tranks him before he gets a chance. But I wanted him to. That's how angry I was that Alfred was dead.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Yep. And I saw it coming as well. I saw it coming like a mile away. It was so obvious where we were going.
Of course.
But
it's the same problem I had with the first issue of this is for Nightwing to become a fascist just that quick, and we get a little bit. They peer into what had happened, just like the escalation of superpowers with the supervillains versus the heroes.
Yeah, everyone was getting powers. It was causing chaos and destruction, and I like how he says, like, the narration from the kid at the start. He's talking about how the world doesn't usually change overnight. It starts slowly. You don't even notice it's happening, and one day you've got all these powers. And I like at the end of the issue, it kind of like sets that point home by saying that sometimes it does happen overnight, though. But when it happens overnight, it's usually really violent.
Yep.
I like that thematic touch. Again, it comes back to the first issue. I think this is really well written. I'm really enjoying what the story is. I just don't buy that Dick Grayson would ever have done this.
That's what I was getting to. Just, and there's been a little bit of spoilers from, characters that show up on the covers, and I'm not going to do that for other people. But, there's more to the story, and I don't know. This dude had more best friends than anything. And just for him to turn on all of them because power's bad, I need a bigger inciting incident.
I think we're going to get more of that, because we got more, again, at the start of this, we got a lot of more of the context. I feel like we're going to keep getting more context at the start of every issue. And maybe that'll fill out that.
I hope so. But because I'd like to hear, it seems like there's that old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I feel like he got, caught up in that. Like, he did want to make the world a better place, but, he had to do it by selling out all his friends. So I like that that's kind of the theme to it. But, again, through 2 issues, and this is, 6?
6-issue mini, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still going to follow it. I was a little bit more outside of the Alfred, thing. I was a little more let down from this one than the first issue.
Like I say, the fact that it's so well written, and I'm really intrigued by the story itself, I do want to keep reading it. I think, I assume we don't get too many books in week 4 going forward. I think we will keep covering it. I just, it's just that core problem of just not believing Dick would ever have done this. I
didn't like the paint by numbers aspect of, it's my kid, now I'm changing my mind, and maybe I did the wrong thing. I just, after what it had set up, it I almost would have been like him struggling actually to put him into stasis. Like, that would have been an interesting, but I don't know. I'm really conflicted about this book.
Yeah. That's the problem. See, if it was just bad, we could just write it off and it would be okay. But the fact that it's so well written by Higgins, it's like, oh no.
Well, and I tend to like a lot more of Higgins' stuff. Like, even his creator-owned over at Image, not Matt's. Oh man, it was The League. It was based off of his short film that he had made in college. I liked what I had read from it, but, again, I was conflicted. So I tend to like Higgins stuff more than I dislike it. But yeah, I hope through 3 issues, though, we'll get a little bit more. Like, I got the vibe in the first issue that Starfire was still kind of around, because they talked about the kid's mom.
Yeah, they say he's not spoken to her in a long time, but that implies she's out there.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if she's going to show up and they have some sort of reconciliation. Like maybe she took the power, dimming stuff that Light was supposed to take.
No, I think I mentioned in this one that she lost her powers at the incident. When, when Dick set off the power bomb or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know. We'll see. This is interesting stuff.
Well, I got my Raven theory with the demonic powers, because that would have been cool. But hey, it makes more sense that it was Starfire.
Yeah, so we'll check back in that next month. So that brings us to our last book, which is another mini. This time it's a concluding issue of a mini. Issue 6 of Batman the Shadow, written by Steve Orlando and Scott Snyder, art by Riley Rossmo. I think this will be a fairly quick conversation, because I think I've liked a lot of this mini, but I do think this issue and the last issue were just kind of, this is the conclusion we're obviously going to get, and it was just kind of, okay, let's just do it. Whereas issue 1 and issue 3 and 4, I thought were doing so many inventive things to smash them together. Whereas this issue was fine. Like I didn't, it was I enjoyed it well enough.
A lot less of the shadow mythos here and much more Batman.
Yeah.
Which I feel as we got away from the shadow and it was more Batman, which, hey, it's a DC comic. I get that. But I was way more into how you would combine the shadow stuff with the Batman. So, and like the whole Joker and the Stag, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah, that was great, yeah.
Yeah, here though, it kind of, not that it let down, but it was just like, oh yeah, of course that's how this is going to end.
Yeah, it was kind of the obvious ending we were going to go to. It just makes a lot of sense. Because a lot of the issue is Shadow's fighting Stag and Joker, whilst Shambhala is burning or whatever.
It got a lot. What's the guy? Lovecraft. Shambhala got super Lovecrafty, and I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
it makes sense, but whoa.
Batman's in a higher plane of existence with another, because there's like other tiers of Shambhala where it's in a different plane of existence, and Batman's there talking to them, and they're like, "Oh, we can make you the Shadow, or you can leave." Because normally, like, evil people come here and then they get the choice of redeeming themselves by becoming the Shadow or just dying.
But you're not evil. So
and we get a little bit of the Stag's backstory. He was like, his brother was killed, and he vowed vengeance.
He swore vengeance, and I like that because they were these two bad guys trying to get to Shambhala because they'd heard, like, if you're wicked and you reach to this, you can do whatever you want. But it killed one of the brothers, and so he swore revenge, and that's why he's been trying to kill anything associated. He wanted to get there to reclaim that power. So that was super cool. I like that.
Yeah. Batman obviously says, no, I'm not going to be this. Because I like Batman's sort of whole argument here, though. His big point when he made to the gods of Shambhala is, he's like, no, I don't want to be immortal. Batman is immortal, but there has to be a different face. There has to be a different person. The whole point is that I started this, and that people can continue it themselves, whether that's, Tim, Damien, whatever, like, it can be passed on. Like, that's a big important part. He doesn't want to be immortal. He still wants to be one of them, one of the people he's fighting for. And it's just, and they win the fight. Shambhala is taken away from this plane of existence. It's just gone forever, which means the Shadow's now stuck as being the Shadow. He will never be able to take that away. He's now immortally going to be that. And it's, that's kind of the ending. And it is set up that Batman and the Shadow still have stuff to learn from each other, which, conveniently, there's another miniseries coming called The Shadow Batman, with the names flipped, which is starting next week.
From Dynamite.
Which, we're not going to be covering that. I mean, I don't think I'm ready for another, like, I'd be up for a sequel, I think, down the line, but not right away. I'm not.
in like 6 months to a year, where, like...
Yeah. It's too soon. But, like, obviously, I enjoyed this mini well enough. It was a good bit of fun, especially the earlier issues. I think the last couple were just a bit more straightforward and kind of what I expected it to end like. So, whereas issue 3 and 4 and even the first issue were like, oh man, this is exciting. This is what they can do with this mishmash of properties.
Definitely.
But
there's a super cool image that represents that, where they're talking about, the Shambhala, higher beings are talking to Batman how he can become the Shadow, and there's an image of Batman as the Shadow with the scarf, but also with his cape and his cowl, wielding the dual pistols. And I was like, I don't like Batman using guns, but that's pretty cool looking.
Actually, my favorite page of this was the page where the Shadow's like talking to Bruce about his past, and it's like a series of panels, and his scarf is going down the page, and it's you get the idea that every time his scarf goes past his face, it changes to someone else, and he changes to Commissioner Gordon, and it changes to Alfred at one point. It changes to all these people from Batman's past, and it's this really cool page, because I really get that sense that as the scarf goes past, that's when his face is changing. So they did a really good job of emulating that in the art, which was cool. And we've talked a lot of nice things about Rossmo's art, other than these Batman ears, which are far too short. But other than that, art's quite good. So, just cool. So it was a fine final issue. It was, just straightforward, and maybe not as inventive as some of the previous ones, but still good things to enjoy in there. Well, that wraps up all the books this week, which means we get to our favourite picks of the week. So we start, as we do, with Panel of the Week. Matt, do you have one at the ready?
I don't. So why don't you go, and we'll see if it's something that jostles something in me, and I don't I don't go into self-parody because I have one, but I was hoping like talking would bring it out. So what's yours?
Why do you assume I have one?
I don't know. Just maybe.
Oh, fine. I'll go first. Right, fine. Since
Okay.
you're struggling, I'll go first. Oh, it's going to be a bit.
Well,
Of
I figured yours would have been from a certain book that you really love, from a moment that when I read, I was like, oh man, this is a Pete moment for sure. So,
I'm not actually sure which one you're referring to be honest.
oh man,
Um, yeah, I mean it's between a few different books. Are you talking about Batgirl? Are you?
I am. I am.
You're thinking about the kiss. I get that. I'm tempted to go that route, but I
Yeah.
don't know. There was so many good panels in Murder Machine, and Suicide Squad had
Yeah.
panel after panel. But all right, I'll be self-parody. We'll go with a kiss. Dick and Babs forever. I ship them. Okay.
So, yeah, well, you don't have to ship them. That's they've done that before.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I don't. I hate that I even said that. I don't ship
Yeah,
anything. I hate
should.
shipping. Shipping's stupid.
Bad Pete.
That's it. Well, it's not stupid. If you want to ship, you ship it. You ship to your heart's content. I've never seen the appeal of shipping.
Not your. Yeah.
Ben, what's your panel for the week?
So if you went to self-parody, then I'm going to go to self-parody. And it's going to be from Suicide Squad. The first time you get to see Sejic's Poison Ivy.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah, she's got the big old Venus flytrap looking things. And yeah, I've seen that image. He had posted that image, by itself before. So it's cool that, it's actually from a comic. But yeah, super cool looking. The colors really pop. So yeah.
Cool. Cover of the week then. This is a tough one. You go first. What's your cover of the week?
Okay, so my cover of the week's gonna be from Batgirl, as I like the way that
that they're kissing.
Well, that they're kissing, but it's all the chaos like from the Mad Hatter around them. And the way that the purples match, because Dick's in his blue suit because it's Rebirth, and she's in the purple. Like everything just gels really well.
All right. Okay. I'll go with Detective, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Tim holding up his suit, and yeah, you got Oz and Batman in the background. Yeah, I'll go with Detective.
Yeah.
So best art of the week. Now, I feel like this boils down to Suicide Squad and Murder Machine. I feel like that's the fight that's been had. So who's winning the fight for you between those two?
It's Sejic. We talked about his expressions and his character designs.
Yep.
And, I was thumbing back through when we were talking about panels, and there's that image of the corrupted Titans or Teen Titans and the Suicide Squad. Like that's a cool looking image too. Like this issue has made me go back, and I think I'm gonna go read Aquaman now.
Oh,
I know you've been big on it. It's all depending on my time. If I have time, I'm gonna start working them in there.
You
Maybe
should,
pick one up every time I go to the shop.
You should do that. I mean, are you going to catch up? Or are you just going to jump into 25?
25.
25. Yeah,
just
you're
go
fine
from
then.
there.
Yeah, jump in.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Because what are we at now? We're at 31?
No, because it's not double shipping anymore, so it's only at 28, 29.
Oh, yeah. Then I can pick those up in the next couple weeks.
Easy peasy.
As I go. Cool.
I think I'm going to go with Sejic as well. I feel bad though, because Batman Murder Machine really kind of impressed me, because I wasn't expecting to like the art in that as much, whereas Sejic I was expecting what I got, but I have to stick with Sejic though. It was just and fun enough, it was how he handled Harley specifically that I really liked this issue. Her expressions really got me inside her head, and she wasn't just the comedy machine that she can be.
Yeah, and we need to give who's the writer on Suicide Squad?
Rob Williams.
Rob Williams. I feel like we give him a lot of crap from some of the stuff we've read from him.
I feel like
I
I don't give him crap. He's just kind of in the middle, and he gets that kind of mundane kind of vibe.
Yeah, and he did a lot of cool work here because he's the one that handed the scripts over to Sejic to bring to life, and I actually liked his Harley, and Harley's a character that I have a complicated relationship with, much like Batman. I feel when she's not used right, it drives me nuts, but here I really enjoyed, and if this is the Harley that we're gonna get I might, give Suicide Squad a second chance. Don't hold me to that, because I said might.
Honestly, I feel like what's happened here is more so that he's a fine workman writer, and because this is, I mean, he's obviously been given the outline for this story because it's part of the crossover.
Yeah,
It's not like he just came up with everything from scratch. It shows that he has a good handle on the characters within the story, but maybe the story itself wasn't him that came up with it, and that's maybe why it's worked out a lot better. But no, so but no, yeah, but that was a solid issue. I never felt like it dipped because it was the Rob Williams issue, the crossover. Never felt like that at all. So
no, and I was worried about that because my big thing was, of course, Suicide Squad falls on the Ivy issue.
And if
I'm super bummed out.
Yeah, if anything, that's been my favourite of the 3 issues so far.
Wow, it's pretty good.
Just because I like the Mr. Terrific reveal at the end. I liked all the fun action stuff with Harley and the bus and all that, and Croc had some good moments. But yeah, so there you go, that's best art of the week. So that gives us our top 5 comics of the week. That is what we're doing. So Matt, you're going first because I'm hosting and I get to decide. So
you're fine. No, that's fine. So coming in, I was like, this was kind of not an iffy week, but not as strong as I thought it was going to be. But as we were talking, it turns out, no, it's pretty strong of a week. But my number 1 is going to be Detective Comics, for all that talk that we did about, Tim Drake and what that means. Number 2 is going to be Suicide Squad, which is super rare. Don't get used to that, people. But the art there really is the star. 3 is going to be The Murder Machine. Art story, super dark. Wasn't expecting that. 4 is Action Comics, because a lot of the, Superman stuff that went on. And number 4 is Wonder Woman.
5, you mean?
And it sucks leaving Batgirl out, but, Murder Machine. Feel if Murder Machine wasn't there, Batgirl would have slid right there.
Yeah. What am I going with? I think I'm going with Murder Machine at number 1, actually.
Oh wow! Look at that.
I liked how dark it was. I was really into that story, way more than I was expecting. It was a really good one and done of sort of, delving into, what happens when this awful thing happens to Alfred.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was into it. I was into the whole evil AI side of it. So no, I'm going to go Murder Machine number 1.
Of course you were, because you are evil AI.
For the emotional gut punch that it was. Then I'll go with Detective at number 2. I'll go with Suicide Squad at number 3, Batgirl at number 4, Wonder Woman at number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I'm lining up. Leaving out of the regular books, leaving Flash in Action just under the line, but that's okay. Yeah. That's the whole point of the top 5 is you have to make the tough choice and get your 5 there done. So that's our favourite books of the week. For Connor, of course, very last minute he called away, so even though he read all of his books, he's not sent me his top 5 or anything. But I'll make sure to find out at a later time, and so just to see if we've got an unanimous pick. Well, we can't, because we pick different books, but whatever. You know what I mean? For record-keeping purposes. But yeah, so that's this week's books. Oh man, you have no idea how hungry I am. I am dying for food.
No,
right now.
I'm trying to help you get through this, man.
Yeah, I know. It's just.
We just got next week's books. Let's.
That's it. Yeah, home. I just need to tell you what's coming next week. What is coming next week? We have the third one shot. We have Batman: The Dawnbreaker number 1 coming. Yeah. That is the Green Lantern one. Correct me, yeah.
Yep.
So we got that coming. We have the final part of Gotham Resistance and Green Arrow. Which I did not write down the number, but it'll be issue 32. We have
Sam Humphries is writing the Dawnbreaker, and Jason Fabok did the art. The interiors is Van Sciver, so that should be
okay. Cool,
really cool.
We have the final part of the War of Jokes and Riddles and Batman number 32. We have Deathstroke number 24. We have Green Lanterns number 32, which is that the first Sealy issue?
No, I think that's the last Humphries.
Oh, it's the last Humphries, yeah, because he's got an epilogue issue.
Oh.
You're right.
Yep.
So we got that. We have Nightwing number 30. We have Superman number 32. And lastly, we have the first issue of a mini that should be very interesting. We have Batman White Knight number 1, which is the Murphy, evil Batman
John Murphy
story. So
Joker Batman story.
Yeah, Joker's the good guy in this story, so
yeah.
That should, if nothing else, the art alone should be a sight to behold. But we'll see how that works out when we see that.
Also coming out, because I can't help myself, we have Harley and Ivy meet Betty and Veronica number one. I don't think we'll be covering it on the show, but
well, I mean, it's a quiet week next week, Matt. So if you read it before the show, you want to talk about it, you can.
It's written by Paul Dini, so the covers look fantastic, and I think the interiors are done by the Harley Quinn team. No, it's not. It's Laura Braga, cover by Amanda Connor. So that's why I thought it was so.
Also out next week, we're not covering them because we've all stopped reading these, but Cyborg 17, Harley Quinn 29, Justice League 30, and Bane Conquest number 4 are also out.
Also, because I can't control myself, I've gone back and read those Justice League issues. Because a friend has them.
God damn it!
It's so bad. I can't help it.
What's wrong? I mean, don't get me wrong. In a couple of months' time, we'll all be reading Justice League because Priest is going to be writing it. But
yeah, but this whole stuff with the kids of tomorrow.
You are a madman. I feel like Matt more than anyone else constantly complains that he needs to cut down his books, and then out of nowhere, randomly, he'll be like, "Oh, I went back and read all these issues of that book, and I went back and read all those issues of that book." You're the worst. You're actually the worst. I am
the worst. But see, what happens is that I don't have to read them before an X amount of time, so I have some time in between.
Oh, sure.
We record in the next ones. I gotta stop reading Justice League. Like
you do have to stop.
I can't. It's so bad.
Yeah. You have to stop badly. So that's all the books that are coming next week. So it's a lighter week, but because we have these like one shots and crossover issues coming, we have that new mini, so we have some big stuff to talk about, and more Jokes and Riddles finale. So big stuff coming in week 1. And of course, Connor will be doing his Makeup Red Hood issue next week that he should have done for this month, and then he'll have a second one to do for next month at some point. Next month's.
Yep.
At one of next month's episodes. I'm so hungry. I'm failing to talk. So let's get to the wrap up of this.
Let's get done.
This has been episode 71 of Comics from the Multiverse. Thank you so much for sticking along, watching or listening. Do us a favour, let us know what you think of the books in the comments below on YouTube. Get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. You can, of course, get us on iTunes, and I think Stitcher has us, and all your podcast apps of choice. You can give us ratings on those, 5 stars, like the episodes, and whatever you do on all those various things. All of it helps. If you want to support us even more, of course, you can go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and you can support us there with a little bit of money. For the $5 tier, you can do it $1, of course, but there's not a lot of comic stuff in that tier. But for $5, you get access to the monthly bonus episode that me and Connor do. We did Alex Ross's Justice this past month. This coming month for October, we're going to do the Long Halloween, the famous Batman story, since it's October. So you get a bonus episode once a month. You also get to vote on week 5 episodes, because in week 5 we do a little trade or something like that as well. Which, by the way, November has one. So the voting for that will be up before the end of October, so that's not too far away, the next one. But that's the comic-specific things you get, as well as the odd bonus thing, like we do Black Magic and stuff, which, by the way, has a new issue out that we've not done yet, so we'll be getting to that in the near future. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. We always love hearing from you.
Yep.
Matt's mic is going right as we end the show. Nice timing for it. So thank you once again. We'll see you next time, and always remember, never get lost in the Speed Force.
Connor can't exist.